Hey everyone, welcome to Thursdays at 3. Your host, Jason Crespin, here at the Amarillo Little Theater. So glad that you guys are tuning in. Of course, everything going on at ALT this week. We have a great special guest director, Stephen Crandall, to talk about Clybourne Park on today. Very excited to talk to him. But yeah, everything is going well. Hopefully, everything is going well in y'all's world as well. Can you guys believe it's already November? I cannot believe it's already November. But yep, November 3rd. Hopefully, you guys are all having a fantastic week and looking forward to a good, fun weekend as well. Of course, want to remind you all things going on at ALT this week, and it's been a busy week, y'all. I know that you guys have seen everything that we've kind of been putting out there, but in case you have missed it, of course, Halloween was on Monday, and ALT had a treat, not a trick. We had a treat for everyone. If you missed it, we had a special announcement that came about because of an exclusive offer that ALT received in an email format. Music Theater International sent us basically saying, hey, there's just this tour that's running right now of a popular musical. It's going to go on hiatus. We have the rights, and we'd like to offer them to you for early access. And we were like, what? So after some long meetings and debating back and forth if we should or shouldn't, we decided to pull the trigger. And so if you missed it, reminder that ALT has exclusive early offer for Beautiful, the Carole King musical. I'm very, very excited about that. This will be, of course, May 4th through the 21st. This does replace, sadly, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. We do hope to produce that show still in the future. If you remember years ago, this happened when we got the early rights for the producers. The Pajama Game was slated for that May slot. That got pulled in order for us to do the producers. Les Mis was an early offer for us as well when that show became available. So a handful of shows have come our way this way, and this is just another one of them. So Beautiful, the Carole King musical, again, May 4th through the 21st. Very excited about that show. I was lucky enough to email two very dear people and who had a slight window of opportunity and availability. And so with our announcement, we were able to have original stars Jesse Mueller, who of course won the Tony Award for playing Carole King, went on to do many shows, of course, Beautiful, a Waitress. She did Carousel, tons of shows. And then Anika Larson there, which is on the same plane as me right there. She Cynthia Weil was the character she played. She was Tony nominated, and in fact, she tonight opens Almost Famous on Broadway. So, Anika, I doubt you're watching, but break a leg tonight if you are. Anyway, so huge shout out and thank you for Anika and Jesse for helping me announce and make that big announcement. It was really, really fun. So look for more information about Beautiful when auditions will occur and all that stuff later on this season. Speaking about auditions, auditions are right around the corner for the next main stage play. That's right, we're talking about Clue. Our audition packet is on our website. Check it out. Clue auditions will be, of course, November 13th and 14th. And that production will go up in January. So if you have any questions about Clue or the auditions, check out that audition packet. It has all the information that you need and audition forms to fill out before you come to those auditions. We also, of course, are well into rehearsals for Elf the musical. If you haven't heard yet, December 1st through the 18th, we'll be producing that holiday musical. Huge cast, 34 in the cast. Everyone's doing great. We're in the thick of music and dance rehearsals and blocking rehearsals and the whole 9 yards. So we're having a great time. And we'll talk more about that as it comes around the corner. Of course, we are going to be talking today about CLYBOURNE Park. We want to remind you that those tickets are on sale right now. That production runs November 10th through the 20th. But also, if you're a volunteer and you're thinking, man, I need to get more involved, or I wish I would have auditioned, but I didn't, we're still looking for one more volunteer to help out for a backstage crew for CLYBOURNE Park. So if you are interested, if you're like, hey, I got some time in the next 2 weeks, contact Lissa at AmarilloLittleTheater.org or call, of course, our box office, 806-355-9991. Let Lissa know. She'll get you the dates. Crew's going to watch Friday night, get plugged in starting on Sunday, and we'll be working away on that show for the next 2 weeks. So if you're available, let Lissa know. Give her an email or a call. We'd love to help you or have you guys help out. And then we didn't think we were going to have one, but we're having a small work call the next kind of 3 days for a little bit of painting for Elf the musical. In fact, we're going to paint a little bit Friday afternoon, some painting Friday evening, Saturday, pretty much all day, and then a little bit Sunday morning. So if you're available to paint, just shoot me an email, jason@amarillo.theater.org. Let Lisa know, call the box office, anything like that. And we would love to have you guys come help paint. We're going to paint a drop and a back wall and a couple of other little items. And we'll feed you on Saturday. You know how it works. So let us know if you'd like to come help out. We'd love your help. Okay, I need to, in fact, before I bring on Stephen Crandall, I'm going to switch our background. Ooh, a little more CLYBOURNE Park, if you will, background. But let's bring on our special guest, director extraordinaire, Stephen Crandall. Hello, Stephen. How are you, sir?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Earlier before we went live, I was playing with our names, and originally I had Jason Crespin Shark, Stephen Crandall Jet, because forever we will be on opposite gangs, and yeah, it's just how it is. How it is. I don't know if you know, viewers, but Stephen and I were a part of gangs back in the day.
Yeah.
Sharks and the Jet.
Can't you see that?
Yeah. Of all the people, us two, a part of rival gangs, of course.
Yeah.
First off, Stephen, how are you doing today? How's your Thursday at 3 going?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm finishing a day of teaching and yeah, just things to do and bouncing from this to that, but I'm doing well. I'm really enjoying the rehearsal process and it's a great cast and it's just been a really joyful experience so far.
Yeah, I really think, Stephen, you should have, of all the people I know, literal hats to wear every time that you are doing things. So that way we know, like, okay, right now he's regular Stephen who's just like out and about on his day. Now he's director Stephen, he's looking for props or casting a
Mhm.
show, whether it's Professor Stephen, Texas Stephen, who
Yeah.
knows? There are multiple Stevens. I think you're in the mafia as well, possibly. So
I need a
who
hat
knows?
that allows me to just kind of disappear every once in a while and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
reappear.
There you go. For our viewers who may not know, remind us all of the things that you do when you're not at ALT.
So I'm a professor of theater at WT, teaching this semester. I'm teaching acting for Shakespeare and
Okay.
an advanced stage movement class, and I'm teaching script analysis, which I haven't taught in a number of years, which is exciting. I've enjoyed that. So I teach in the performance and acting program here, and I've been here. This is my 13th year at WT.
That's crazy to think about. 13 years. I feel like you guys just moved back, and that's
So,
been a while now.
yeah, it's gone fast and furious. I just finished 6 years as a department head, and then this past January, I also I stepped into the role of artistic director for Texas Outdoor Musical. And so I am still as busy as ever, but I have a little bit more ownership of my time, which I really like. I've really enjoyed the transition. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
it's been good. Keeps me busy.
And remind us, I mean, I know-ish, but how did you get involved at ALT? I know West Side Story was not your first show.
No, and
Inspecting
Inspector
Carol?
Calls.
Or Inspector Calls, that's right,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah. And I had come to see shows. It was kind of a time in my life where I was in going to AC and had kind of been doing some shows at AC, and then I kind of took some
Four
time.
baboons adoring the sun.
Yeah, Four
right?
baboons wore just a diaper in that show.
Oh my.
And so then I just started. I had been seeing some shows while I was in junior college and really admiring everything that ALT does, and so I just kind of got I just put tried to be brave and just show up for an audition, and then it just kind of started for me. I auditioned after show. It felt like for a while.
Yeah. Well, and I luckily, of course, my first show with West Side Story that you were Tony in, and that, I mean, gosh, you were what, 20? I was 15.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, it's like, man, that seems like 100 years ago, but also seems like just yesterday.
Yeah.
Of course, and then progressed at ALT. Went off and you and Leanne lived in New York, and you lived in Chicago and Vegas, of course, getting all of the degrees and more degrees and putting more degrees on top of those degrees, I felt like, and more certifications and stuff like that. Then when you have the opportunity to move back, was something, I mean, was getting back involved in ALT something that you were looking forward to when you guys moved back to Amarillo?
Oh yeah, I mean, ALT's always been kind of that special, a special part of Amarillo for me. I mean, I just have so many fond memories, so many great people that I've had the pleasure of working with, and friends that I've made for life. And so yeah, I definitely was excited about the possibility of getting back involved. And I know certainly when I came back to teach at WT, I was busy those first few years, but then gradually I think I was able to kind of get back involved at ALT, and it's been a really great joy to kind of get particularly on the directing side, which I never did experience before. So that it was really exciting to kind of shift gears and be a part of making some magic at ALT on the directing side.
Well, and you and I have similar, kind of paths in the sense that you with WT, a student at WT in theater, and then went off and then came back and full circle for you, same with me with ALT as well. And so it's been fun to kind of talk back and forth a little bit of like, is this really happening to us? Like, are we both okay? Yeah, this is. It's kind of crazy. So
It's kind of, I sometimes have to like pinch myself and say, wow, how it's unique that, the both of us, we've kind of,
yeah,
yeah, we've made a big circle. It's kind of cool.
yeah, it's very cool. And we're so blessed that again that you were like, I have time, I have a little bit of availability to direct. Of course, Clybourne Park. With that too, I mean, with directing shows at ALT, let's talk about. You've directed Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. What was your first show that you directed for ALT? I can't
The
remember.
last 5 years.
The last 5 years. That's right. Okay, so that was your first one. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Of course, the Glass Menagerie on the main stage. You
Mhm.
you tackled the big fun musical, The Full Monty at the Adventure Space as well.
Yeah.
No Man's Land. So you've had some, literary works, of course, and then some big fun shows as well. Of course, starred in many shows, Young Frankenstein, and things like that. With all of those shows, what do you love about, I guess, directing, especially maybe at ALT?
I I mean, it's always the people. I mean, I find I'm so inspired to just get to come and work with people that just are truly there because they have a passion for what we do. And it's a, it's a true passion. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think anybody at ALT is involved for any kind of I don't know. I think it's not a selfish place. It's not a, it's there to enjoy the collaboration and the creativity of doing something together and with
Oh
people.
yeah.
And it always has been that for me, and that it always attracts me because it's just fun. I live in an academic world most of the time, and that I love that world, but there are times where there's a certain kind of structure that has to always, whereas at ALT I think sometimes there's play and flexibility in ways that might not be here, and that's good for me every once in a while, so
Sure.
it's good for, even when my students can be involved at ALT, it's a good learning lesson. It's a good or learning opportunity. It's good for them to kind of get out and be around lots of different kinds of people that are just passionate about ALT and about theater. So
Sure. Well, and gosh, I mean, so many of the students that you guys that have been able to do shows at ALT have been phenomenal because they have such great training at WT, and then of course come and share that talent with us here at the theater, which is just, we're always so blessed to be able to have some of your students, or even when some of you guys get to come and play with us, whether it be directing or
yeah.
on stage or whatever aspect. Switching now over to Clybourne Park. For our viewers, this isn't a movie. No, it's not on Netflix. It's not, a world-renowned book that everyone's read. So not a lot of people know what Clybourne Park is about. It's so unique. Every time I tell somebody what it is, they're like, "Oh, I want to come see that." Like they immediately get intrigued, but they just don't know what it's about. So can you tell our viewers in a nutshell, what is the show about?
Yeah, I mean it's set in a house in a neighborhood in Chicago, and what's interesting about the play and its structure is that you get to see that same house and environment in two different eras. So the first act is set in 1959, and the neighborhood exists in a certain way, has a certain demographic of people living in it, and then you see it 50 years later, and it's completely different, and the house is different, and it's the demographic of the people that live there has shifted, and so it's really, I think it's one of the most unique scripts because of that experience you get. And the really cool part from an acting standpoint is that the actors get to play characters in both of those worlds. And that, I think, is like, ooh, that's meaty, juicy material for any actor. So it's really fun to kind of get to experience that. The story really centers around, in 1959, Clybourne Park is primarily a white or Caucasian neighborhood. And this play kind of follows after the story of A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, in which the younger family is buying this house in Clybourne Park, and they are a Black family, an African American family, moving into a white neighborhood, and it causes a stir because of the racial segregation in the city, and so that's the unique aspect of Act One. And then we go 50 years later, and Clybourne Park is now a Black neighborhood, an African American neighborhood, and you have a white couple trying to purchase the home to build a new house in Clybourne Park, and there's kind of an uproar about that, and so I really like that dichotomy. I love the comparison, the contrast. It feels like we get a lot of like repetition in attitudes, and it really, I think, like illuminates how sometimes we are prejudiced in ways we can't even realize. And
Sure.
everybody needs to sometimes take a step back and say, am I looking through a lens that's fair to everyone? And to me, that's really at the heart of this play. So it's the struggle of adapting, in both acts, that I think is really enjoyable. And the playwright has kind of just spun this really sharp, kind of edgy, but sophisticated comedy, believe it or not,
Yeah,
about
that's what's funny.
subject.
It's when you look at it up, it's like comedy, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, what? This
Yeah,
is a
but let
comedy?
me tell
Okay.
you, it has some like amazingly funny moments. And I think humor is part of how we deal with some of the more difficult topics in life. And
Yeah.
he gives us an opportunity to kind of look at this story and laugh at ourselves, and sometimes the absurdity and the ridiculousness and the closed-mindedness, and I think that helps us see those things in ourselves better. It reflects back, and we can kind of walk away thinking, okay, wow, have I had feelings like that before, and how can I change that? How can I get better? How can I be better? So
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the playwright Bruce Norris wrote this play. Of course, it won the 2011 Pulitzer Prize for drama. Then, of course, when it went to Broadway, it won the 2012 Tony Award. So the material itself is one of the strongest pieces that we're presenting this season, just from the accolades of awards that it's won. And yeah, you're right. It's like a razor sharp comedy that just deals with these issues, and some uncomfortable issues for sure, but puts a magnifying glass on that and just kind of dives into it. And I'm excited, and it's the regional premiere of this play in this area of Texas, which I'm very, very excited about. That's
yeah,
what's so great about the Adventure Spaces. We're able to do these shows that we could be a regional premiere of this work, and really put some quality theater out there that not everyone might be able to see.
yeah, yeah. I think it's a real treat to get to experience this story here in the Panhandle. And I mean, you might think there's not any real like reference point for us here to Chicago, but there's similarities in some of the things
Sure.
said and the kind of the mentalities, which I think it's good for our audiences here in Amarillo to see it. So
Did you know the show before jumping in directing it?
I mean, I had heard of it. I may have read a couple of scenes a while back. I mean, I certainly remember, because this was early when I arrived at WT when this was premiering in New York, and I remember hearing about it, and I've always been kind of curious about it. And when we started talking, and I picked up the script again, I was like, wow, this is great. This is good material. So it was very enticing to get to work on it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you were like, "Yep, I'm on board."
I'm grateful to be a part of it, and thanks for the opportunity. So
Heck yes, for sure. With this show, of course, and having we talked about a little bit about this when you were holding auditions. This was a unique show to cast because when people were coming to the auditions, they weren't just playing one role. They had to play two different roles: one role in Act One in the 1950s, one role in Act Two. Tell me a little bit about the process of casting, and then let's talk about the seven brilliant actors that you have that are doing this, that are playing these characters in this ensemble piece.
yeah, I mean, it was a challenge because you kind of have to look at it like two one act plays. I mean, it really, but you've also got to keep aware of the connection. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Between what are the similarities? What are the repetitions that he writes in both eras? But so we really had to kind of get a sense of each actor's ability to bring some distinction between this character and that character, because the mannerisms and the ways of speaking and the just the lifestyles of people in the late 50s is so different than the late 2000 2000s, and so it's like we had to look for that. So we read pretty consistently between both acts, and we kind of tried to pinpoint particular like character defining moments from each act and try to get to those in the audition and callback to try to have a good sense. And it did, you're really looking at versatility, needing versatility in the actors to convey two characters, maybe wanting and saying and doing different things. So it was careful. I think it was pretty deliberate as far as the choice of sides. And then we just kind of had to keep at it until we felt like we had, the right choices.
Sure. Yeah.
So pleased with the people that auditioned, and every one of them talented. So it was really not, easy necessarily to cast, but it was helpful to have a really great pool of people and talent. So yeah, we ended up with these seven actors that are just really having a ball, I think, trying to navigate the dual responsibilities. And
let's talk about Act One first, because we have some photos that I can share. We were able to get some publicity photos for an upcoming article for Amarillo Globe News, and so these three characters, remind us who they are.
So sitting in the chair is Russ, and behind him, over his left shoulder, is Bev, and so they are the married couple who own the house and are basically selling their house to the Younger family from A Raisin in the Sun. And moving to a different neighborhood. And then with them is Francine, who is a kind of a maid, a kind of a worker that comes to the house and helps Bev in the house. And so she's, when the play takes place, she's helping on this Saturday afternoon, like pack up things and put them in boxes and get ready for the moving truck that's coming the following Monday.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And of course, we know Jay Hayes, there playing
yeah,
Francine. She's done several shows with us, of course, was seen earlier in the season in Significant Other, in fact. But then Jenny is brand new for ALT. So she's a newcomer for us at ALT.
yeah. She's just recently returned to Amarillo, I think, and yeah, just literally on a whim decided to come and audition. Uh, Pretty last minute, from what I understand. And I don't know that she kind of knew what she might be in for. Maybe I don't know, but she's doing a wonderful job. And Jenny, I know Jenny. I guess I didn't realize it when I first met her at auditions, but she went to high school at Tascosa and was, I think, a grade ahead of me. But
Oh,
she
cool.
knew me from high school, and I knew her from somewhere, and then she brought that to my attention. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow.
That's
So
awesome. That's
it's
awesome.
very, very cool to be working with her. And I so enjoyed working with Jay um, and Shad. I've known Shad for a long time, and
Chad Tyra there playing Russ.
Shad
Yes.
Tyra. And so it's really great to work with the both of them as well.
And Shad, recent or his most recent role for us was playing Black Stash
Yeah,
in Peter and the Starcatcher. Years ago, played Captain Hook for a production of Peter Pan. So it's great to see him, and I'm pretty sure this is his first Adventure Space show,
I think it is.
um, which
Yeah,
is exciting. With him having such long history at ALT, but then
yeah.
getting to do something new as well and perform over the Adventure Space. I love that, and I'm so excited to see Jenny and see her talent on our stage. She did theater wherever she used to live, correct?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah,
Uh,
she's not a stranger to the stage, but yeah, this is her first. I think her first ALT show.
yeah, yeah, which is exciting. Then we had some photos that you took for some characters in Act Two.
Yeah. So this is so on the right in the salmon polo shirt. Um, that's Zach Ohm, and I think he's new to ALT as well.
And
Uh,
it's so funny because literally, this is how old we are. We used to have a phenomenal Academy student who was an ALT volunteer and grew up in the theater, Zach Oheim, who
yes.
of course
Yeah.
moved off and moved away. And
Yeah.
so when he came to auditions, I was like, "That's not Zach Oheim. I know Zach Oheim." And then I was like, "Oh, it's a different Zach."
Yeah. So Zach plays Steve in Act Two. So this is him as Steve, and then upstage of him is Lily Green, and Lily is playing Lindsay, who is Steve's wife. And so Steve and Lindsay are the ones buying the house in 2009 and are planning to demolish it and build a new house. So this kind of plays into the topic of gentrification, and so then upstage of them,
Drop of that. Yeah.
right there, shaking his fist, is Brandon Graves as Kevin, and Kevin and his wife Lena, who Jay Hayes plays, is they are the ones selling the house, and Lena is related to the Youngers who bought the house,
Oh, okay.
Russ and Bev, in 1959. And then behind the Brandon is Brooks Boyette, who's playing Tom in Act Two. Tom is their attorney, Lena and Kevin's attorney, who's trying to help work out some legal matter here about the house, and the plans that Steve and Lindsay want for the property are kind of going against the homeowners association and those that are trying to preserve the CLYBOURNE Park neighborhood here in 2009
Gotcha.
from being really too radically changed. So
Well, and we're talking about, of course, these amazing characters. Lily, of course, this will be her first show at ALT. Same with Zach. They both have come from backgrounds of theater as well, though. And then Brandon Graves, of course, has been in several shows at ALT. Again, also earlier this season in Significant Other. Brooks Boyette as well was last seen in Murder on the Orient Express and Sound of Music last year. Has been in Baskerville and Anything Goes and musical comedy Murders of 1940. So you have this great group of people, some veterans who have been a part of ALT,
yeah,
some newcomers who are new to ALT but have been involved in theater before, so they're not necessarily making their acting debut, but certainly their debut at ALT. How has that been kind of getting them to be really an ensemble? Because you're right, like in Act One, they're playing certain characters, and then in Act Two, playing completely different characters, but they still have some similarities. And I guess how do you go about making sure that they're a cohesive ensemble?
Well, I might say that like the play is challenging enough that it's really bringing them all together because
They're saying the rosaries together right before
yeah,
rehearsals,
I mean,
and
it's a tough script to memorize. It's the dialogue is really at times like hyper realistic.
Mhm.
So it's very, very, quick and repetitive. And so that I think has kind of brought them really together initially as an ensemble when they really all kind of uh, started really realizing the challenge. But they have all risen to that challenge, and they are doing some really fantastic work, and they've gelled really quite quickly and easily, and have all been just super, super easy to work with, and um, really committed. And it's been a real joy. I mean, I just feel really lucky to be working with these 7 people. And of course, I couldn't be doing this at all without Crystal Burns and Kissy Cummings, who are just wonderful and are supporting in so many ways. So
yeah, Crystal Burns, of course, assistant director, Kissy Cummings, production assistant, and I'm sure that they're able to provide insight to you as well, from a female perspective, or just different things like that, with making sure that the story that's being told from a woman's perspective as
yes,
well. I do that with my shows. I always try to have somebody on my production team that's not
yeah,
me,
yeah,
that's not my same perspective, because I want
yes,
to have. I remember years ago when I directed Honk, Jamie Humphrey was on my production team, and I was like, "You're a mom. I need more insight from
yeah.
this song about that the mother is singing, and
Mhm.
things like that." So yeah, I'm sure Crystal and Kissy are doing a
It,
fantastic job
yeah, we've had
helping out.
so many good moments where their insight and input have really kind of helped take it further, and it's been great. And then we've had Michael Hoy, who came in as dramaturg and has kind of given a whole lot of really good background and information about the Chicago housing, like uh, scope. It's really fascinating and difficult, and the way that the government kind of created boundaries in the neighborhoods, and some of the policies that motivated changes, and like segregation and things of that sort. So it's really great context, as any good dramaturg will do, is provide you a lot of like background that helps you as an actor and as director to like start to wrap your head around the world of the play. And
Yeah,
um, so yeah, those 3 have really been super supportive. And then these actors have just been phenomenal, and
and
they've worked very hard.
let's talk about the set, because the set, if or the house, if you will, is almost a character in itself.
Yeah,
With the diva that the set is, all the needs that the set needs, because we have to see this progression of 50 years pass. And
yeah,
so talk to us a little bit about the set and those
yeah.
needs.
I really lucky to work with my really good friend Tana Robertson, who's designed the set, and collaborated with us on how do we do this? How do we make build a house in the adventure space, and then try to make it change and age for 50, make it reflect, a totally different condition in 2009. And what's interesting is, it's such a quintessential Chicago home in 1959. And then in 2009, the house has been neglected, and it's been run down, and it's abandoned, and it's not so it's kind of, it was a challenge to kind of figure out how to do that and do it cleverly with in a theatrical way. And
Yeah.
I think we've come up with some good strategies, which I won't reveal, to help an audience kind of feel like, oh wow, I'm in the same house, but it's quite different now.
Yeah.
So that is
Well,
so.
and huge shout out to, of course, our tech team, Greg Dunlap, Noah
Absolutely.
Lang, and Brendan Kafumi,
Yeah.
who took those designs and created this and have been, uh,
They're doing an
um,
amazing job.
yeah, suggesting things of tweaking here and there of how things can look on our stage and different things like that.
Yeah.
I believe also Kalina Knight has kind of been the costume
Yes.
coordinator for the
Yes.
show as well. Leanne Crandall, of course, helping with some wigs, and
Yeah.
so yeah, a bunch of people coming together for this show.
Yeah, totally. It takes a village. I mean, it's like you've got to have a bunch of talented people that are willing to give to something like this to make it as good as it needs to be. And
Exactly. Oh, for sure.
so, yeah.
With the show, and were there any aspects of the show that surprised you that ended up being a little bit of a challenge? Where you thought, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that with this show," whether it be the time, from Act One, Act Two, or
I mean, just the inhabiting the characters in the era has proven challenging for sure. And and the actors are still developing that and will continue until we have an audience. But that's a really great challenge, because you do want to be convincing in saying, I'm so and so, living in 1959, working in this field and so on, and then now I'm an attorney in 2009 doing something completely different. I think the dialogue has been really challenging just to kind of find the rhythms of. I keep
Mhm.
talking to the cast about how important rhythm is. I think the playwright wrote very unique and specific rhythms of units of each act, and so that has been fun to kind of figure out, and we're in the process of really honing that.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, just the environment, trying to figure out how to make something like this work in a intimate space. But that's why I love the adventure space. That's why I think most of my directing has been in the adventure space.
yeah. I think
But
what Glass Menagerie was the
that was
only
it
main
at the main
stage.
stage. Yeah, just I don't know. I just love I love having the audience close. This is a play where the audience is literally just peering into the house, which is really fun for a cast, and then just the challenge of making something plausible in a really intimate way is just a real joy.
Yeah, I love that. We, of course, want to remind audiences that tickets are on sale currently.
Yes.
Shows, of course, this production will run, like we talked about, November 10th through the 20th, 1 week from today. Always exciting to have our shows Thursdays at 3 on potential show performance days. This show, we also want to remind you, of course, is Thursdays 7:30, Friday and Saturday shows are at 8 o'clock, and the two Sunday matinees at 2:30. Following the November 13th production, we will have a great talk back. Of course, our talk back series, where we will talk more in depth with Stephen, his production team, and of course, the cast and crew of the production. It's a great, time for audiences to ask questions or insight or find out a little bit more information about the show, or choices that were made throughout the process. So that, of course, anyone can come see that. Anyone, that's a free event after the show on the 13th. We also want to remind you, this is just our second show at the Adventure Space, but this year, our front doors will open 30 minutes before the show. That means the front doors open at 30 minutes. The doors into the theater open at that time as well. So instead of having the front doors open at an hour and then the doors into the theater 30 minutes, both doors just open at 30 minutes before the show. So always want to remind people of that. This show does have an intermission. Obviously, the intermission is needed for a transformation, if you will. But also it's rated R. There are some language, some strong language, of course, subject matter as well. We always want to remind our audiences, that's what the adventure space is for, is for us to be able to still produce this quality theater that might have a little more mature, if you will, rating than good old Elf the musical would have on the main stage. Stephen, when audiences come see the show, what are you hoping that they take away after they leave?
Well, first of all, I hope they really listen, because there are so many great nuggets of truth, that I hope
Mm,
that audiences will will digest, and I hope they walk away talking about it. I hope they walk away having some conversation about particularly some of the harder topics centered around race, and that their minds are a little bit more open and flexible after this story. And I think that's what the play does. I think it can really kind of enlighten and open your perspective, which is what this world needs, man, right now more than ever. So,
Amen.
yeah.
Very, very, very true. Well, we cannot wait to see your great work being produced or directed on our stage, and all of the work that Kissy and Crystal and Tana and Greg and Brandon and Noah and everyone, Michael Hoy and Kalina, everyone who's been working so hard on the show. We cannot wait to see, um, you know, and the performances from Shad and Jay and Jenny and Brooks and Zach and Lily and Brandon. I think I got them all. Yeah. Cannot wait to see you guys shine on our Adventure Space show. Y'all, you need to come see this show. I'm telling you right now, it's the probably the most acclaimed script that we have of the season. With especially after winning the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, the Tony Award. It's a show that has been produced regionally several places, and we can't wait to be the regional premiere for the Texas Panhandle. It's been in good hands with you, Mr. Steven, so we can't wait to see all
Very
that working.
lucky. Yeah, very, very blessed to be a part of it. So yeah, I'm excited. Please come see. It's going to be a wild ride. So yeah, yeah.
And before I depart, I want to remind everyone, of course, this is at our ALT Adventure Space. Make sure to get your tickets again, 806-355-9991, or visit our website, AmarilloLittleTheater.org. Again, November 10th through the 20th, just 2 weekends. That's it, just 2 weekends over at the Adventure Space. Running time, Stephen, what would you guess it be at?
Sometimes people right about 2 hours. So 2 hours with an intermission. Each act is about an hour. Yeah.
Nice. It's no Guys and Dolls. I think an audience of Guys and Dolls is just now getting out. Actually, that show is a little lengthy,
but great. It was great.
Yeah, super fun. One thing I failed to mention in my opening, talking about all the things, because there's so many things happening at ALT. Of course, we want to remind you work calls and Clue auditions and Elf the Musical, all that stuff. But mark your calendars if you've not already done so. Panhandle Gives. Panhandle Gives is going to be later this month. In fact, November 21st through the 29th. 21st through the 29th. Go onto the website, which is just panhandlegives.org. It'll ask, just like it says right there, participating organizations. You click on that, type in the Amarillo Little Theater, and make a donation during that time period. Basically, what happens, y'all, is you make a donation during that time period to the Amarillo Area Foundation, and it comes to Amarillo Little Theater. We get 100% of that donation. However, they have a thing called the Amplification Fund, and so they have all of this money that has been donated that they get spread out to all the organizations that raise at least $250. And basically, what will happen is the more we raise, the more that kind of gets multiplied by. And so I think last year we were at about $36,000 when it came to donations from Panhandle Gives. And we need it this year. We need it. We have a huge goal that we're going to try to accomplish. You'll get more information in the curtain call that will be coming out later this week, and all that good stuff. But again, mark your calendars. Panhandle Gives, of course, great thing. So many wonderful organizations that will be a part of it. But if you're looking for an organization to give, I mean, you're already watching Thursdays at 3, so you have some sort of vetted interest in ALT. We'd love to have your donation. So check us out on Panhandle Gives as well. Stephen, I'll probably pick your brain on who might be available next week from your cast that'll be able to come and participate with Thursdays at 3. So viewers, tune in next week when we hopefully get to talk to some cast members about their excitement as they'll next week will be opening. They'll have a show that night. So very, very excited. And I know, Stephen, you have a great rehearsal, a couple rehearsals left. I'm seeing the show tomorrow night and cannot wait to watch a fun rehearsal of that. And so we both have tons of things to get done with our afternoon, so I'll let you go. Again, viewers, thanks for watching. Thanks, Stephen, for being a part of Thursdays at 3 today. Even though you're on the wrong side of the gang, even though you were a jet, I was a shark. I'm
when you're a jet, you're a jet. I mean,
I know. Why did the Sharks have a song like "When you're a
I know.
shark in a park, you're a lark"? I don't know. We got nothing. We had Mambo, and we were done.
Yeah.
So yeah, the girls had the Shark girls had "I Feel Pretty."
Yeah.
You know, some of the guys felt pretty. We didn't get to sing about it, but you know, it's a whole other story. Whole other story. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Stephen, so much.
Thank you,
Everyone, have a
Jason.
good rest of your Thursday. We'll see y'all soon.
See y'all.